Hi everyone, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and today I'm sharing with you a geometry lesson from the book Nature, Number, and Geometry. This is a Waldorf curriculum by Live Education, and today we're going to be working on six-fold symmetry. So we started out this geometry book with the circle, then division of the circle into 6 parts, then we moved on to the hexagon, and now we're doing a lesson, 2 lessons that have corresponded with other main lesson blocks, one in botany with six-fold symmetry of petals on a plant, on a flower, and then also six-fold symmetry for minerals for our mineralogy unit. So today we're going to be doing this illustration that perfectly coordinated with a previous main lesson block that we did on mineralogy, and this lesson that we just did also coordinated really well with a lesson that we're doing in botany. So we're going to be using our main lesson books. These ones are from a child stream. They do measure 9.5 inches by 12.5 inches. They are larger than what you would typically use at this grade, but I do like the larger format. There's also blank pages on both sides, and it's separated by an onion skin. So this works out really well for us. This was our previous lesson. Now we're going to be doing something really similar. We're going to start out doing a circle. I have my compass here. For this project, you'll need a compass or a circle that you can, like say a cup that you can use over and over again to make your six-fold symmetry. So we want to do both of these images. So I want to make my circle small enough that it's not going to take up the entire page. So I'm going to eyeball measure, and I'm going to start by doing a circle right here at the top. I want to make sure that you keep this very firm. From that, I'm just going to choose a spot on the circumference and then swing my compass over to create 2 arcs. Then take my compass again very carefully, and that is not, there we go. Swing it again. Place the compass on that arc, swing it again, and then one more time, and that should give us the 6th division. And for good measure, we're just going to make sure that this actually lines up, and it lines up really well. So I'm confident that we have divided our circle into 6 equal parts. For this project, you're also going to need a straight edge and a pencil, and I always have an eraser because mistakes do happen, and I think that it's actually quite important to work through the mistakes and erase them and correct them if you do come upon an error, and that does happen often. So now we're going to connect each of these points in order to create the hexagon. So, and that does not look point to point. So let's go ahead and erase that and make that more accurate. I'm going to use the other side of my ruler to get a better line. That feels better. Let's go all the way around the circle. Okay, 2 more points. And last one. This is a nice big hexagon. And at this point in the lessons, children should be able to construct this pretty easily without too much assistance. So now we're going to gently shade in some of these, well actually we have to make the hexagon, the six pieces, the 6 triangles. So let's go ahead and connect each of these points opposite in order to get those 6 triangles. Okay. So in this lesson compared to the previous lesson, we see that this one has a lot of sharp angles, and we can see the geometry and the mineralogy come through this lesson versus the more free-flowing and artistic view of our previous lesson, where there was a lot more fluidity with the construction of the image. So now we want to, I'm going to change my pencil to a softer pencil and then start to shade in. And you could use charcoal if you wanted to. I'm just going to shade with my pencil and then try to be varied with my shading to make it look as natural and as blended as possible. I pulled out my Sargent Art square chalk pastels for this shading, and I think it turned out a little bit easier and better than the pencil. I used a light gray and just went around the edges and then kind of smudged it to give it a more wispy look, and I think that it looks a little bit more dimensional this way. Now we're going to attempt to do an amethyst crystal from the side. So we're looking at now the hexagon from a three-dimensional perspective, and this ended up being very challenging, and it doesn't look the way that I'm hoping it to look like, but that's okay. In the following lesson, we're going to learn how to draw a hexagon from the side profile using an oval and then connecting those 6 points in a vertical space so that it looks three-dimensional. So I added a little bit of purple chalk around these 3 amethyst crystals just to sort of give it a little bit more like a crystal image, but it was still really challenging to do this. I spent a lot of time erasing and redrawing that little portion, but once it was all done, I used my matte finish in order to protect it, since this is chalk and I didn't want this to smear on any of our other work. I hope you enjoyed this look at our lesson for geometry. If you'd like to check out the blog post that accompanies this video, you can find that link down in the description box below. There are more tutorials and videos, as well as links to all of the resources that we use for this main lesson block. And if you'd like to see how we're homeschooling on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram and now on TikTok at Pepper and Pine.